know the happiest countries in the world, Finland, Denmark, Iceland, Sweden, and the Netherlands. They prioritize factors beyond increasing one's wealth. In fact, it's interesting that before the show, I was reading an article that I had written a couple of years ago for Dan's Papers. And as you know, I'm the advice columnist for Dan's Papers in the Hamptons in New York City and Palm Beach. And it was about chasing fame at all costs. And I think that what so many people really believe, and it is not true, that if you're chasing fame and fortune, that somehow it is those things that are really going to give you happiness. Well, unfortunately, the reality is that is not even initially true on any level. And as I oftentimes say, maybe it'll do it for the day, or maybe it'll do it for the week, the fame and the fortune, but those are not the things that are going to give us happiness throughout our life. So in looking at the happiest countries, not only do they not prioritize one's wealth, they focus on providing citizens with universal health care. And of course, as a Canadian, that was something that I always took for granted. And of course, not now. And they also prioritize mental health. They encourage generosity and trust and a healthy work-life balance and strong social networks and communities. And there are many, many other things. Again, it's not just about talking about them. I know people say all the time, it's something that I should do and could do, but I haven't gotten the time. And yet these are the things that really do tend to make a huge positive difference in our life, like eating a Mediterranean diet, making time for regular exercise, including weight training and yoga and meditation. Even taking a bath or a sauna, getting rid of the technology. You walk down the streets here in New York, you can almost, have to protect yourself from people bumping into you because people are typically on their phones. Getting enough sleep, meaning about 8 hours a night, taking short naps, spending more time with supportive people, including family, eliminating toxins in your life. And when I talk about toxins, Gary Nell talks about toxins in terms of foods. I talk about toxins in terms of people. So I think it's important. I know that for myself, I have adopted a zero toxicity policy when it comes to people. Because you know what, my friends? A little bit of poison is still poison. What are some of the other things that we should be thinking about doing and then actually doing? Dancing, listening to music, getting out into nature. It is a gorgeous day in New York City, and I was able to just take a short walk in the park. It made all the difference in the world. Reaching out to support groups if you haven't got that close friendship or family connection. Um, and finding a meaningful purpose in your life beyond ourselves. And that is something that is so important, to be able to just express your love to other people and compassion, regardless of our political differences. We ought to be able to engage in meaningful kinds of conversations. And I think that finding that purpose and being able to find ways to give back. And I'm not talking about having a lot of money where you're giving back millions of dollars. I'm talking about giving back in very small, meaningful ways. And just committing to finding as best as we can, and nothing, of course, is purpose, a balance between work and fun. And I think that if we incorporate at least 80% of these things into our life on a day-to-day basis, we are going to find that our life is going to be much more joyful, much happier, and much, 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 much more meaningful. Well, as I promised you, I have a very, very special guest today. Usually, my guests are not in New York City, so that most of the people who I interview here on the Ask Beatty show are in various different parts of the country. And the other thing that's really changed over the years is that my practice here in New York City, almost nobody comes in anymore. In fact, I have a patient who lives 1 block away and she will not walk over to come to my office. So I miss that human person to person connection. So that's why it was a real thrill for me when my friend and colleague said he was going to be in New York. And I said, absolutely, we need to talk. We need to talk about your books. We need to play tennis. And you absolutely need to come on the Ask Beatty show. So without any further ado, I want to introduce Bill Brannon. And Bill began working as a reporter, an editor, and a paper boy for what was then the Green Party newspaper. And this was in North Carolina. And it eventually transformed into the more mainstream Mountain Express, the second largest circulation newspaper in Asheville, North Carolina, and Western North Carolina. And Bill soon switched to being a frequent freelance contributor, which he's now done for over 30 years. And he was recently chosen by that paper to write a biweekly column representing the viewpoint from the left in an effort to promote dialogue with the right. But we're not going to be talking about the Green Party. We are not going to be talking about the left and the right. We're going to be talking about Bill's books. And he's written 5 books, 2 of which are nonfiction romantic relationship books. So, Bill, it is great to have you sitting right next to me here in my office in New York City. And for someone who has never been married, and Bill's had a lot of relationships over the years, I think it's absolutely fascinating that you have wanted to focus and write and publish books on romantic relationships. So how did that all happen, Bill?
Well, the book that we didn't include really is called Asheville, circa 2000 AD, and it's subtitled Confessions of a Serial Monogamist.
Ah,
And the first thing I noticed is that most baby boomers and beyond have had either 2 or more lovers in their life,
okay.
and that means they're serial monogamous.
Right.
And
Right.
now they may actually want to be a monogamous, but since they've already proven to be a serial monogamous, we can't say that they're monogamous until they die married, maybe. And then we say, wait, where's the serial monogamous that became a monogamous?
Well, I think it's serial monogamous. I mean, you're in one relationship, and ideally you are monogamous if that's the deal that you have with your partner. And then if the relationship ends by just because it ended or death, then you go on and you have another serial monogamy relationship. And if that is what works for people, then that's great,
That's right. That's
right?
great.
But I want to talk about advanced romance, which is one of your books. Want a Better Love Life. And the subtitle is Liberation from 16 Romantic Rules to Vastly Enhance Your Chances for Life-Changing Love. And beginning right with number 1, the failure, if not forever, fallacy. So what does that mean? The failure, if not forever, fallacy.
Well, that's just minimizing the guilt from divorce or breaking up or thinking you're a failure because the relationship didn't last forever. Like you were mentioning, we have about a 50% divorce rate now and about an 85% non-married breakup rate. So it's
Right.
huge numbers of separations. So it's not a failure. If you had good moments, years, let's say, in your relationship, then you should be thankful for that and say, well, this was a good relationship.
Right. And of course I always talk about, not necessarily success or failure, but lessons to be learned. What have we learned? Let's say the relationship breaks up. If you're unmarried and you broke up for a variety of different reasons, which hopefully the people are able to discover, what was it that happened? Was it that I chose the wrong person? Was it my own skeletons in the closet were getting in the way? Was it communication? But that there hopefully are lessons to be learned. And, when I cite the divorce rate for third marriages of 71%, I mean, that's the thing that really strikes me, Bill, is like, what are we doing here? We go from 48% divorce rate for first marriages, 67% for second, and then 71. So
No, nobody's learning
no,
anything.
it sounds
Well, if your goal is to stay married forever, and that is that's a great
yes,
goal. Everybody wants to be happy ever after, and that's what I often regret that I haven't attained that,
yet,
though I'm feeling pretty happy.
yet.
But yeah, but nevertheless, if it was a good relationship for a while, then you don't count it as a failure. And you don't have to say, well, maybe this is what we had to learn from each other, and so we moved on to the next person. Now, what poisons it often is the breakup is so painful.
Yes.
And in Advanced Romance, me and Lauren, my co-author, Lauren Everon, who's a relationship counselor in Manhattan, and is about 38. So I'm 70, she's 38. So we're looking at it from two different angles.
Right.
Is that instead of saying dumped and you were dumped or you're the dumpee, say you're a distancer and a preserver. And so this is somebody you've shared 3, 5, 10 years with. You care about them a lot. You don't just want to dump them and throw them away. You say,
Right.
okay, we need some distance here.
Right.
And or or the person who's would be called a dumpy is saying, well, I want to preserve it, but obviously we can't preserve it the way it is now because you're not happy, and so let's modify it, and instead of say living with each other, let's just see each other once or twice a week.
Well, I mean,
And
that's something that, a couple needs to negotiate. I mean, somebody might say, I don't want to ever see you again. Like if you've cheated on me over and over again, or if you've abused me verbally or physically or sexually or financially, I'm not going to want to have anything to do with you. So I think it really depends on the reasons why a relationship ended. And ideally, I think particularly if there are children involved, you're hoping that you're going to be able to have some kind of a healthy relationship with your former partner, if nothing else,
right,
for your children.
and this is one of the 14 romantic rules that are no longer true. Is number 7 in this brochure, the
Okay,
wreck the ex hex. And so soap operas and Hollywood and history teaches you, oh, if we're breaking up, we have to have a big fight and hate each other. But no, you should have known it's a 50% divorce rate, 85% non-married breakup rate. It's likely it's going to happen. So it's a little like running a three-legged race, right? If you ever run a three-legged race,
right.
you're coordinating with your people and you're going pretty good, and suddenly you have to stop, and you hadn't thought about how you have to stop. So you crash and you burn.
Well, I
And
think what I see over the years is that, I say this jokingly, but it's not a joke. I've been practicing Bill for over 35 years. I've treated thousands of people from every single walk of life. And I cannot remember anyone who's ever called me and said, I need help with communication and problem solving. It never, ever, ever happens. And what does happen is that people, individuals, and couples wait way, way too long before being willing to acknowledge, address, and resolve as best as they can the problems that are getting in the way of their life and relationships. It doesn't happen. So in my world, there's always a major crisis that precipitates a call to me for help. And one of the things that I've tried over the years to try to encourage people is that when things are getting off track, that is the time. That is the time to take a step back and say, look, we're off track or I'm off track. I've tried meditation. I've tried talking to my friends. I've tried napping. None of this is working. So now is the time that I really better get some really good professional help. But
Yes,
if that doesn't happen in my
yeah, and
world.
this is a skill we should study in high school, college.
Absolutely.
Uh, analysis paralysis is one of the romantic rules that are no longer true. We need to study love. We need to.
And what is analysis paralysis? Our audience, I love the phrase, but what does that mean?
Well, as it says, it's either useless to study love because everything that's known about is been around for 2,000 years.
Right, right.
It's dangerous because it might cause a breakup if you discuss it, and it's immoral because everybody knows what they're supposed to do, which is stay married, and to discuss the opposite is immoral to even think
And
about.
I think that people really don't know what they have to do. And I have identified, and I'll be curious to hear what you say about this, that there are actually three things that people do need to know and do need to do to never make a mistake in love again, or to be able to find and maintain a healthy relationship. And the first thing is that each of us needs to be in a good place ourselves, emotionally and psychologically and psychiatrically, and we need to be willing to deal with our, in quotes, skeletons in the closet and unfinished business, all the unpleasant things that we do not want to deal with, that we hope and we dream that somebody is going to save us. Somebody is going to take care of all of that, and we don't have to go back and deal. And it's simply not true. So we need to be willing, even though it is painful, to emotionally work through as best as we can those demons. And there's no way around it, and people do not want to do it, Bill.
Yes, and that's been part of the tragedy of modern life is families move apart. There's
Right,
no more extended family
right,
in the Upper West Side. You were telling about some people that, um,
right.
and so that puts more pressure on your monogamy, on your primary relationship. And my new book, which is Harry and Sally Were Wrong,
Okay,
shows an option about that.
let's hear about Harry and Sally were wrong.
Well, it is that people. I guess a lot of your listeners have seen the movie When Harry Met Sally,
Yes,
and the main premise of that is men and women can't be friends because the sex stuff always gets in the way,
which is not true.
which is not true, but it is true for a lot of people. And
Okay.
in fact, the phrase "the friend zone" has evolved for it, and that's the subtitle of this book is "Rezoning the Dreaded Friend Zone into Platonic Friendship with Dopamine and Other Hormonal Benefits."
What does that mean with dopamine and other hormonal?
That means when you're around somebody you're attracted to,
Right, right.
evolution and your body
Okay.
wants you to mate with them. And
All
they are
right.
emitting dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, vasopressin, oxytocin,
Okay.
testosterone, estrogen, lots of chemicals to try to make that happen and make you feel good.
Right.
And so Eli Finkel, who's written the book The All or Nothing Marriage, says you need a diverse social portfolio.
What does that mean?
That means you need to have friends outside your marriage.
Well, I mean, friends. You can
Friends who are opposite sex. It doesn't have to be opposite sex, but that is helpful in that well, he tells a story about a man that went to see a prostitute,
right.
and but he didn't go for sex. He went because the prostitute knew about French poetry and he loved it, and his
Okay.
wife didn't like it. So he
Okay.
had to go to see her to discuss French poetry.
Well, could he not have found somebody else other than a prostitute to go
Right?
and
Yeah, he
discuss
could have
French
found
poetry with?
yeah.
Because I'm sure his wife, if I was his wife, I would be very unhappy that
Yes.
my husband went to see a prostitute to discuss sociology or criminology
Okay.
or French
Not
poetry.
okay. We don't have to say a prostitute. Just a person that is attractive.
That makes a difference. You said a
That's
prostitute.
well. That's what Eli Finkel said.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, all right. And people make choices. about whether they're going to act on their dopamine level
Right.
increases or not. And that's something that a couple really needs to talk about. Are we going to have an exclusive relationship? Are we going to not have an exclusive relationship? What does that mean? This morning my hairdresser was talking about how more and more people who are married, who actually marrying, are choosing to live in separate locations. And we were having this discussion that, we all need our space. And if that's the deal, then that's the deal.
So
But it needs to be talked about.
there's no longer romantic rules to follow. There's only
Right.
discussions to be had. That's the
Exactly.
new norm in the world. In the 1950s, there were many
Right.
romantic rules, like you were saying.
Right.
You never heard of divorce? Oh, here's what you do. If you kiss somebody, you marry them,
Yeah.
and then you're married for life.
Yeah.
But that's not around anymore.
Exactly. But I think that the art of conversation, and this is something, my husband Jim and I talk about all the time. I mean, people really seem to have, I think, increasing difficulties just having conversations, talking to each other about really important central issues. And we're not talking politics right now, although we could, uh, central issues that are important. Do we mesh? What are our values? How do we want to live? Do we want children? Do we not want children? If we do want children, what is our mindset as parents in terms of, how we want to raise? I mean, there's a million different things to talk about. I mean, in assessing who's right for you and who's wrong for you, whether or not you're in a relationship, and yet it doesn't typically happen.
Yeah, and well, because it's so painful, it's so scary to talk to
Scary.
your lover
Yes.
or your potential lover about it. And this is one of the romantic rules that are no longer true, is the soap opera cop out.
Oh, what is the soap opera cop out?
And that is
Love
be
it.
hysterical whenever you and your mate
Um,
discuss your relationship. And
um,
that's what soap operas teach us to do. That's what movies teach us to do. In fact, there's a movie out right now with Cumberbatch, right? Called Roses.
yeah,
It's a sequel to the War of the Roses, but different stars.
right,
And it's about a couple that start hating each other and they try to kill each other eventually. It's a comedy, believe it or not.
right.
But
Love it.
so instead of hysteria, try to learn to have a relationship discussions in a more calm than hysterical manner.
Yes.
This is probably necessary because there are many more such talks than before, with a 50% divorce rate,
Right,
85%.
right, right,
Um,
right.
yeah, this will enhance your chances of staying in the relationship, of being friends with significant support system benefits should the discussion lead to a breakup or a distancing
Right.
and that's one of the big factors here is that when you are breaking up or distancing is you may get back together in the future. So you
Maybe.
need to keep that in mind. You don't want to alienate them so badly, you start throwing insults around, and pretty soon you hate each other. But actually, you used to love each other more than anybody. Now you hate each other more than
Yes.
anybody. I mean, what an irony, right?
Right.
But no, you need to say, okay, well, this obviously we're changing here, but we may get together in the future. Things change, people change, conditions change, people get in better shape, they get interested in something else, become more interesting themselves, and
Right.
and so that's you look at the big picture instead of saying this is the big discussion. I'm going to kill you and you're going to kill me, or I'm going to scream and break everything, or we're going to break, any friendship potential we have.
But that's the whole point, when people used to interview me and ask me what did I think were the two most important ingredients that made or break relationships, I used to pause and say, look, this is not romantic, which it's not, but it is emotional communication and problem solving. I mean, if we can't talk to each other, we don't have anything. If we can't solve a problem, we don't have anything at all. And that's part of the issue. So that if we don't have our stuff together, and what I found too is that people are still unclear about the ingredients that go into a healthy relationship. What are those ingredients? I mean, a lot of people really believe, that fame and fortune, and that you need to have a lot of money in order to be able, and that I wouldn't date a person unless he made X number of dollars, or I wouldn't look at a woman unless she looked like a model of some sorts. And people actually have that false belief that those are the things that are really going to, make it work. And we know that that's absolutely not true.
And this is a big point of Harry and Sally were wrong, is that now used to be the basis for men, women, and friendships in 1950s before, there was not much. There was sex.
Right.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
There was, the prospect of having kids.
Right.
There was the woman nurturing the man.
Right.
And then there was three jobs you could talk about. The woman might be a secretary, a nurse, or a teacher, and that's it.
Yeah.
Now there's the Labor Department says there's 800 separate jobs, easily definable jobs in the U.S., and women are in all of them
Right.
now.
And should
And
be.
so
It
men
should
have
be.
lots to discuss. Or take sports.
Yeah.
Now we have Caitlin Clark, who's as exciting as Michael Jordan ever was.
Right.
And so women can discuss basketball with men. And we have, in the Olympics, women are 1 second behind men in the 100-meter run.
Right.
And this is only after, competing for 50 years.
Yeah.
And so, this transformation of women's liberation has changed a lot. And so this diverse social portfolio I'm talking about it's already happening, because many, 7 out of 10 people who work in offices say they have work husbands or work wives, and then they have their home husbands or home wives.
Right.
And so these are platonic friendships at work. And these dopamine and serotonins, if they're physically attracted to each other, are being emitted and making them more enjoyable. But they're controlled. They don't go into sexuality, and it doesn't hurt their marriage, but it sure helps their work, because it's a lot more fun to be in love while you work and in love when you're home.
Well, one of my articles on extramarital affairs, and I'm trying to remember the exact statistics. I don't want to overstate it or understate it. I think it was that 40% of extramarital affairs actually do begin at work.
Well, there is a danger. There's a great danger.
So there we have it. But again, it's not like this danger that's coming from the sky. People make choices. We make choices how we want to live. Hopefully we're conscious enough to make those kind of choices, and what we want to do and what we don't want to do. We're not talking about children who are abused and who have no voice. We're talking about adults who make choices. We make decisions every day.
Yeah, and this is one of the big issues in Harry and Sally Were Wrong is it's also in my other book, the excess sex industrial complex.
What does that mean?
Phrases,
Bill.
Yeah, the excess sex industrial complex is constantly pressuring us to have sex with people we're attracted to. I mean, it's what the movies are all about.
Yeah.
And it's what a lot of people, what men especially, are worse at it. In fact, it's been proven that men often interpret women's actions as meaning they want to have sex when women are not meaning that. Whereas women,
they hope that that's what's really going on.
That's right. That's right. And part of it is men are supposed to be the aggressors, and that's sort of, traditional. But women don't do that so much. So women are much better at having what in Harriet and Sally book is called platonic erotic friends. So they're okay, being attracted to somebody, but just being a friend. Whereas men feel it might is the first big barrier to such friendships, the macho man misunderstanding.
Okay, let's talk about I love all of these different categories that you have. So let's talk about the macho man misunderstanding. What is that, Bill?
Well, that is, and I felt it first. Luckily, I was somewhat independent, but it was around, in middle school. Your first getting interested in the opposite sex, and one of your homies has a date, and he goes out with Sally, and he comes back, and they said, And his friends say, "Well, did you have sex with her?" And he
Uh-huh.
said, "No, no, I didn't. But it was so wonderful being around her, and it was, her voice was so beautiful, and her movements were just like heavenly." And actually, he's getting dopamine and serotonin hits.
Right.
But we didn't know about that until Helen Fisher discovered that in her book, The Chemistry of Sex.
Right.
But now we know about it. So back then, all the guy was trying to do some poetry, and his friends would just say, "Oh, that's ridiculous.
Right.
You might be gay. You might not be a
Right.
man. You might not be a macho man." But now he can say, "I got a hit of serotonin that makes cocaine look like nothing."
I wonder whether most men would actually say that, though, Bill, that they were so, ingratiated and they were so just connected because of uh, poetry or good conversation. I don't think that most men would actually, I don't think that would be their takeaway. You tell me.
Well, that's now we're talking about the friend zone. So
Yes, the friend
most
zone.
people my age don't know about the friend zone. I've taken a sort of
You
random
think they
survey.
don't? Your
Right.
friends your age don't know about the friend
Mhm.
zone.
But
Okay.
it came from an actual episode of the Friends sitcom,
Okay.
and in
Yes.
it,
Yes.
Ross
Yes.
was attracted to Rachel,
Yes.
but he wouldn't say anything about it.
Uh-huh. Did
Eh,
Rachel know? Because I
No,
did not watch that series. Okay. So she didn't know that he was attracted to
right.
her. Okay.
And so Joel is watching it all, and Joel is wants to be a soap opera actor, and he says, "Well, Ross, you're in the friend zone now, and as long as you don't tell her, she doesn't know, and she's gonna go date somebody else. You're gonna miss her." But the more standard definition is you're attracted to somebody and want to have a sexual relationship with them,
Right.
but they don't want to have it with you, but
Okay.
you're still friends. And
Okay.
so that causes a lot of frustration. And that's what you're talking about is men don't want to deal with that frustration of being, it's almost like being cockeyed because I really want to have a relationship with this woman, but she didn't want to have it with me. So
Right.
what do I do? Do I just say, well, I'm not going to be friends anymore with her?
That may be a choice.
That may be a choice.
It may be too difficult to be so attracted and then just leave it in this friend zone. But again, people make choices all the time. It either is going to work for me or for us, or it's not.
And the friend zone is a very common term. There's a Wikipedia entry for it. There's a MTV series called The Friend Zone. There's a movie called The Friend Zone with Amy Smart and Ryan Reynolds. Um, but most of them are about overcoming the friend zone. How do you get the person that doesn't want to have a sexual relationship to have one with you?
You don't. If somebody doesn't want to have a sexual relationship with you and you do, I mean, why would you want to try to persuade them to have a sexual
Well,
relationship with
that's
you?
somewhat what courting is about. You're a man. You're riding your horse. And you're saying, "Look at me! I can win my jousting tournament, and I'm going to go win this tennis tournament." Now you're in love with me. Before you thought I was a little wimp who couldn't do anything. Now you think I'm a great man. So now there's always a chance it may change, right?
So you're saying that men, and I suppose women too, should somehow try to convince the other person that there should be more than just this friendship thing going on in the friend zone.
Well, that's an option. But the other option is saying, "Well, I like this person enough
Right,
that I don't have to have sex with them to
right,
still be friends with them."
right.
And so most you look up psychology today, most articles about how to get out of the friend zone into a loving relationship. But there's been a Time magazine article that no, you don't have to do that. You can still be friends. And one of the reasons it works is because men and women now have so much in common because women are working every kind of job. And so there's a basis to have friend zone. Whereas back in the 1950s, there wasn't much to talk about. Either you had a sexual relationship or there wasn't much to talk about.
Yeah, I'm really surprised with what, you're citing. You're saying that there are a lot of books and articles being written to somehow teach people how to go from the friend zone into a more romantic zone.
Mhm.
Why would we want to do that? It's either going to happen or it's not going to
That's
happen.
right. That's right. But the hope springs eternal, and especially in horny males and randy males. I should use the term.
And it's not
Yes.
just,
Yeah.
horny, it's not just horny men, but I mean, sometimes, it is what it is. one person wants something, the other person doesn't want something. We have to then decide, are we going to be able to somehow find a win-win resolution? And, you're saying the friend zone may be that win-win resolution
Right.
or not,
But
or
but the
not.
way it's presented in most literature is it's the dreaded friend zone. It's a horrible place to be because you're frustrated and you're just constantly being demeaned, and people are just laughing at you because they know you're in love with this person, but it's not going to happen. And so,
The person needs to accept the fact that it is not going to happen and then take an adult, decision, responsibility, and decide, can I deal with the fact that this is not going to happen? And do I want to still remain in the friend zone?
right. And some media are recognizing that. And here's a quote from this Italian journalist, Andrea Carlo, that I really like. But not behind the notion of the dreaded friend zone stands a history of self-loathing, reactionary traditionalism, and misogyny, which, as subtle as it is, managed to rear its head whenever the phrase friend zone comes up.
Okay.
Because
Sort of it like that.
because well, it's from a male point of view.
Okay.
In fact, there's a Saturday Night Live sketch about it, which has a man in love with a woman who makes him do stuff like, go give me some milk,
No,
go put up my.
she doesn't make him do anything. He chooses
That's true.
to run around and go to the store and do whatever she wants him to do. And if it means demeaning him, he's agreeing. He's agreeing to being demeaned. She's not making him do anything.
I agree.
This is what, my friends, people who are listening to this show right now, this is what we have to be very, very careful about, to not enable toxicity of any kind, not say yes when we mean no, not do things that we don't want to do, not be demeaned and then blame the other person. We as adults are making choices, usually, I hope, conscious choices about how we want to live our lives and what we do and what we don't want to do. So in this example, she is not demeaning him. He is agreeing to being demeaned.
That's right. I agree totally.
Okay.
However, that's the way it's perceived in most of the media now, as the friend zone.
Yeah.
And so this quote goes on to say, depicting the friend zone as some kind of horrendous affliction, cruelty imposed onto a scorned lover ultimately delegitimizes friendships, turning it into something secondary or inferior to being in a relationship. Well, it can obviously hurt to have your romantic advances decline. If such rejection makes you want to cut someone entirely from your life, then clearly they deserve better friends. And you probably wouldn't have worked out as a couple anyway.
Well, or if it's too painful. If it's just
And there are
there's that.
there's that.
It's too painful. I want more, and it's just too difficult for me to be around you because it's I feel rejected, I feel pain, and you don't want to again inject yourself into a situation where you feel rejected and where you're agreeing to pain.
And this is where you
You
need
know.
a diverse social portfolio in
Exactly.
which you have other people that you're attracted to or friends. And so you don't have all of your attraction, and your self-worth as a lover, as a romantic person tied up into this one thing that's not going to work out. You also have this friend over here. You're not as attracted to him, but you're attracted some.
Right.
And they're still your friends. So if this, doesn't work out at all or it becomes too abusive, as you were saying, then you say, okay, I'm out of here, but I'm not completely, as is one of the, let's see, the bereft, the bereft.
I love all these categories that you have. I really, I really, really do.
The lessening of the sexually bereft and loneliness threats.
Oh my, what does that mean? Okay.
Well, that means if you have a diverse enough a social portfolio,
Yeah.
when your central monogamy breaks up,
Okay.
you still have some friends who you're attracted to that are still friends. And so you're still getting admitted to the, what do we call it here? The Holy Church of Sexual Transcendence, the Holy Cathedral of Sexual Transcendence. That's what this is all about. That's what evolution, we're the product of 350 million years of romantic evolution. It started with these two little catfish called the autotarchs, and that's the first example that anthropologists have found of animals having sexual intercourse. And since then, it's been refined. It's been made more potent. And now, thanks to Dr. Helen Fisher and other people, we're finding out that there's huge numbers of hormones being emitted when you are around someone you're attracted to.
Right. But one not but and I mean people can have friendships and people can be looking for friends. Women can be looking for female friends, they could be looking for male friends, men could be looking for women, they could be looking for men without the need for an attraction.
That's right.
I mean again that's a choice. I mean, if it happens, it happens, and then the two people have to figure out what they're going to do about it.
And that's part of the horror of the 1950s. So you had women, again, mothers, housekeepers, homemakers.
Right.
That's a bad. And
Homemakers.
nurturing the man,
Right.
nurturing the man, so he can go out and grab the money and with his cudgel and bring home the woolly mammoth. Uh, but now, and so if you were around a woman or one was around a man that you weren't attracted to, then
Right.
there was nothing to talk about. You weren't
Uh-huh.
even interested in each other because there was nothing to talk about.
But now there's a million
Now
things.
there's plenty to talk about.
Yeah.
So yeah, so now you may not be attracted to them, but they're really like a boy with boobs because
Right.
they know as much as you do about everything. And so there's lots to talk about. So yes, there could be, men we call them cross-gender relationships between people who are not attracted to each other, just as much as there are. Um, but it's more fun if there's a little attraction.
It may be more fun. It could be complicated, and again, it's about people figuring out what to do or what not to do with the attraction, with the friendship. If it becomes too difficult, then one needs to make a decision about what to do or what to not do. I think as long as we're being honest with ourselves, and
And
what
the other person.
and yes, and the other person, and not saying yes when you mean no, and not giving off certain vibes when you're, and not playing games.
Mhm.
But something else I was just thinking about, and I'm looking at the clock, my heavens, we only have about 10 minutes left. I hear more and more from women of all ages that they're really pretty turned off with men. We are self-supporting, we're successful, we don't need men to pay the bills, at least the majority of women these days certainly don't. And I wonder, I mean, you're a single guy, how this has really affected men who were always used to being in charge and no longer, women aren't putting up with anything anymore. Although, when I say that, I also say that three women are killed every single day by their so-called intimate partner. So we have a long way to go in terms of women taking better care of themselves emotionally, physically, sexually, financially. But there's a real, and I hear this a lot, Bill, that not just with patients, there's a real sort of a almost anti-male kind of thing that women are expressing more and more. And unless he's this, and this, I'd rather be by myself kind of a thing.
Well, there's been 10,000, 100,000 years of oppression of women.
Yes,
There's a lot of
yes,
bitterness there. There's a lot
yes,
of bitterness.
yes, yes,
Um,
yes.
but also, this is part of the gender bender tenderness is one of the benefits
What's
of
that?
platonic erotic friendships.
Okay,
And that is, again, you're in the friend zone and you're sort of an inferior. You're a male,
yeah,
but you're in love with a woman and want to have a relationship with her, but she doesn't want to have one with you, but she wants to be your friend,
okay,
just a friend. So
okay.
you're putting in a sort of inferior position.
Why an
This is
inferior position?
well because you're right.
It's a difficult
It's a difficult
position,
position. Well, it depends on how emotionally mature you are about it.
right?
But well, the friend zone it was never discussed.
That's right. It never was
It was
discussed.
the
Right.
term was invented in 1994,
Really?
10,000,
Really?
100,000 years before.
Really?
It was still existed,
Yes.
but nobody even thought about it. They just
Right.
said, well, they're not into you, then go somewhere else.
Right.
But
Right.
now we're working with women.
Right.
There's no avoidable. If you're working in an office, then you're going to be around
Right.
somebody you're
Right.
attracted to.
Right.
What are you going to do with that?
Well, that's a choice each individual has to make. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to talk about it? Are you going to deny it? Are you going to, avoid it if you're in a monogamous relationship or if you're married? I mean, these are all the kinds of questions and decisions that each of us has to ponder
Mhm.
and make, and nobody's forcing us to do anything.
Well, there's a lot of pressures. There's the excess sex industrial complex is saying, you're attracted to this person, your goal is to have sex with them. Evolution's telling you that. There's a lot of pressure to funnel attractions into having a sexual relationship. But again, like you say, we're free individuals.
We, we,
We can transcend that.
we are, and I mean, who cares about the advertisements on television or the subliminal messages that we're, getting from, the internet. I mean, again, we're individuals. We have to figure out, this is, the last chapter in my book, which is, about how is this assessment gone that I've just made, to see whether or not the person is right for me or wrong for me. I mean, there's basically a few questions. It's what do I want and need? What I don't want and need, and describe my relationship, and what can I compromise on? What can I not compromise on? And you come up with an answer. It's either going to be yes, nothing is perfect, but we're going to move forward, or we're not. So whether we're talking about friend zones or romantic relationships, that's still the process that people have to go through.
Mhm.
Is this what I want?
Mhm.
Am I going to be able to tolerate, for example, that I'm so attracted to this person, but this person is not attracted to me? So if it becomes unbearable and painful, why would you do it? You wouldn't, but you're a
But
free person to make that kind of a decision.
yeah, that's a relatively rare occasion. I mean, it happens, but most of the time the attraction is less intense. You're somewhat attracted. There's that terrible phrase that men say a lot, I wouldn't kick her out of bed.
Yes, right. Well,
That's a terrible phrase.
might say that as
Yes,
I would
yes.
kick him or her out
Right.
of
But I'm
bed.
not that attracted to him, but
Yeah.
so there's that. So that's a lot of attractions. Um, but yes, so the friend zone is a new thing. By the way, you can get read my book for free for a limited time.
Harry and Sally were wrong book.
Yes.
Well, where do people, yeah, Bill, where do people reach you? I know we're not at the end of the show and I want all this contact information to be out there, but where do people buy these books?
Well, you can read it for free for a limited time because I haven't uh, put it into book form yet on at harryandsallywerewrong.com. All one phrase with no spaces. So the whole book is there.
The whole book is there.
And you can go to Advanced Romance, xxoo.com to read the first 50 pages of Advanced Romance, or you could get the, here's the book. Here's the book
Love the book.
there.
Love the book.
You can get the book on Amazon. And soon to be able to get Harry and Sally on Amazon, and then I'll take down my website. But right now it's free. And I think it's somewhat of a revolutionary situation that where humanity has arrived at because of women's liberation.
Right.
Now men and women can be friends. And they love the friends with benefits. That means they're having sex.
Right.
But
Right.
you don't have to have sex to have sex.
Well, to have intercourse or to
Right.
have other.
You just have to be around somebody you're attracted to,
Right.
and then you're getting dopamine, serotonin. You're getting the thrill
Right.
of romance.
And if that does it, so be it.
So be it.
That's great. With the next just couple of minutes that we have left, with everything that you've been doing with your writings, what is Bill's takeaway been? Not Bill the author, or the activist, but what has your takeaway been as a man for all the different things that you've discovered and the books that you've written. What
About
are your
relationships.
about relationships? Yeah.
Well, I recently had one of my best female friends die,
Yes.
and we saw each other every Thursday and Sunday for about 20 years.
Were you involved sexually?
We had a 5 years of a sexual relationship,
Uh-huh.
and then it, backed off into a friendship.
And so you had the friend zone going thing for all those years.
Mhm.
And did it work
And it worked great.
for
It was,
both of you?
yep.
Okay.
In fact, it worked so good that she had several relationships during that time, sexual
And
relationships.
how did you feel about that?
And what would happen is she'd say, "Okay, I can't see you Sunday nights anymore because that's such an important time for
How did
relationships.
you feel about
But
that?
I'll do it. I'll see you Thursday." Well, I had to work. I had to scramble a little bit, but I had a very diverse social portfolio.
No, but how did you feel?
I was okay with it because again,
The two of you made the transition from lovers
yes,
to friends, and then you could accept the fact. And did she accept the fact if you went out with women and had sex with women during this friend zone period?
yes, because we had a stable friendship.
Okay.
That was more important than our sexual relationships at this point because we were such good friends.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful.
But losing her was a big thing for me,
Of course.
and however, I have other again a diverse social portfolio, and so I'm so far
You're
doing
diverse.
okay.
You are diversified. I love
Yeah,
it.
that's what that's an investment.
Portfolio.
That's
It's talking about money. It's like talking about the stock market.
Yeah, the lessening of sexually bereft and loneliness threats. I still can be admitted to the holy cathedral of sexual transcendence around platonic friends I have that I'm attracted to.
Right.
And so I'm not like completely, alienated from the world of women.
Look, bottom line, would you like to have a monogamous relationship
Right.
with a woman and maybe get married or live together?
Well, everyone wants to live happily ever after in the ideal romantic world.
So that's still the ideal for you, is to have a monogamous, happily ever after monogamous relationship.
It is an ideal, but I'm very happy with what I have. Too.
So if that doesn't happen, or if you choose to make that not happen, or you haven't met the right person, you're in a place where the friend zone and the friend zone with all
platonic,
of all
erotic friendships.
The platonic erotic friendships and all of that is okay.
It's okay. And it feels transcendent. It feels like I'm still admitted to the holy cathedral of sexual transcendence.
Okay, listen, you've got to give everybody your website, and then I have to give my closing remarks. And this has been an amazing conversation, and I can't even believe that it's gone by so quickly, Bill. So
it has been fun.
The website is what?
Harry and Sally were wrong.com.
Okay.
Or advancedromancexxoo.com. No, .com.
Okay. Well, this has been fun. This has been great. I hope we get out on the tennis courts in the next.
The best antidepressant there is.
The best.
Tennis.
Absolutely. Yeah, I certainly feel that way as well. Well, everybody, I hope you have had a really, really enjoyable experience, and it would be fun to hear what your takeaways are, from the conversation that I have had with Bill. And I want to leave you with my 2 weekly messages. And the first, of course, is to make sure that you are doing everything possible to be living your life authentically and honestly in ways that are really in your best interest. It's really important you figure that out so that you're not saying yes and when you mean no and doing things that you really don't want to do. And secondly, we need to do a much, much, much better job in learning to accept the other, listen to the other, dialogue with the other. And it's amazing what we can actually learn from people who we feel that we have absolutely nothing in common with. So I hope that you have a really wonderful rest of the day, and I look forward to speaking with you and hearing from you every single week here on the Ask Beatty Show, which of course airs every Monday afternoon live at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Progressive Radio Network. So So be well, take care of yourself, and let's do a better job of taking care of others. Bye bye, everybody.